Yes, you can recover permanently from depersonalization and derealization. I did it and I've been helping people do it for about the last 6 years. However, the wrong understanding and the wrong methodology can and will make depersonalization and derealization symptoms stick around much longer than necessary and prevent you from being able to move on and enjoy your life. In case you don't know who I am, my name is Jordan Hardgrave. I am the founder of Trauma Free Academy, and I once suffered with debilitating depersonalization and derealization for 2 years constantly and off and on for over 5 years. These symptoms were the most terrifying thing that I have ever went through, hands down, especially depersonalization, although derealization was absolutely terrifying as well. Feeling detached from my body was by far the most terrifying, debilitating experience that I've ever went through. But then again, also with derealization, feeling like everything's fake and dreamlike, feeling like you've slipped out of reality and are living in a dream world, was also extremely debilitating for me. I often tell people I would not wish these symptoms on my worst enemy. That is how bad that they are. Unless you've experienced them, that doesn't make any sense. But if you have experienced them, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Thankfully, I did make a full recovery, and a big shift that I had to make is I had to shift to a body-based strategy. I also had to get the right information. I also had to make lots of lifestyle adjustments to make sure that I was reducing stress and fatigue, but I got out of the symptoms and I've been able to stay out of the symptoms, and you can do this too. And I'm very blessed to say that I've spent the last 6 years working with people from around the world, helping guide them into full recovery. And I will tell you, I don't care how severe your situation is, if you put in the work, you will see the results. So what you need to know about DPDR, which by the way, DPDR is just short for depersonalization realization because they are literally the longest words in the entire world. DPDR is just a lot easier to say. DPDR are dissociative symptoms at their core, and dissociation comes from a Latin root word that means to sever or separate. And in the case of DPDR, it means to separate or disconnect from your body, that's depersonalization, or to separate from your environment, that's derealization. Thus, the question needs to be asked, why would your brain feel the need to separate you, disconnect you from your body or your environment? Well, simply put, it's because your body is in a state of trauma, traumatic stress, overwhelming stress, and your nervous system does not feel safe with you being embodied or feeling connected to your environment. And your nervous system feels so unsafe that it thinks that it's helping you by making you feel disconnected from your body and disconnected from your environment just in case a lion was eating you. So you could compare this to a gazelle in the African savannah. Let's say that it tried to fight or flee and that was unsuccessful. Well, the most ancient defense mechanism is called the freeze response. Once you fail to fight or flee, the next response for mammals is to play dead and also prepare just in case the lion or predator doesn't believe that you're dead and eats you. And part of that preparation to be eaten is depersonalization, neuralization. These symptoms are not exclusive to human beings. They are actually mammalian defense mechanisms produced by the dorsal vagal branch of the parasympathetic nervous system. So the mammal freezes and hopes that the predator loses interest and walks away because predators prioritize a prey that puts up a fight. But just in case the predator doesn't believe that the prey is dead and decides to eat it, depersonalization, realization serve as kind of nature's last gift. If you're going to be eaten, you might as well not feel it. And you also could say that depersonalization, realization are an escape when there is no escape. It's much better to be dissociated, separated from your body or separated from the material world if you are being eaten alive. I'm not a gazelle, so why am I entering into these symptoms? And yes, that's true. We are very different than a gazelle or other types of mammals, but from a nervous system perspective, we have the same basic autonomic nervous system as other mammals. So, the key to becoming free from depersonalization and derealization symptoms lies in understanding how to reverse the state of trauma happening in the body. But to be able to pull this off, a lot has to happen, and this is where most people almost always go wrong. Because the symptoms are so terrifying, they, like me, whenever I was suffering, spend all of their time trying to wrestle with the symptoms, trying to directly get them to go away. But the best that this does is provide temporary relief because the symptoms are not the problem. They are actually biologically correct autonomic responses for the state that your nervous system is in. When you reach a state of overwhelming stress and your brain thinks you're about to be eaten by a lion, it is actually appropriate. It is correct for your brain to make you feel dissociated, separated from your body or the material world or both. And so you're wrestling with symptoms that are correct for the state of your body and probably some very painful things happening in your life. And because people are focused on the symptoms and not the actual root, the best that they get is short term results. And sometimes these results can last for years and people think that they're recovered. But until you've actually dealt with the root of why the symptoms are there to begin with, releasing the tension, adrenaline, and emotion from your body, making lifestyle adjustments to mitigate fatigue, as well as we're going to talk about a few other things, you're really not recovered yet. I always tell people recovery is not the most recent, largest break from symptoms that you've had. Even if those breaks have been years, a lot of people will experience the symptoms again and again. And they're like, okay, well, I was recovered for a year last time and now it's been 6 months. No, if the symptoms keep coming back, that's a sign that you haven't actually dealt with the root. People try things like distraction, and not only does distraction not deal with the root of the problem, but it's actually feeding the problem. A big problem is you've been detached from your body, and that's one reason why there's been such a buildup of stress, tension, adrenaline, emotion, and fatigue. And whenever you distract your mind 24/7, yeah, that may cause temporary results by way of you just being totally out of touch with your body, but you're actually running from the problem, which is primarily a lot of buildup in the body. And also, there may be situations in your life that you're not addressing, relationships or lifestyle factors. And if you're always in your head, distracted, you're also not having to face the things that you need to face in your life to mitigate stress and fatigue. So, distraction is just all around terrible. It's not going to get you the results that you need. In fact, it's pushing you opposite of where you want to go. Or a very popular approach is mental acceptance. And this is something that I tried and it got me short term results. It helped me with panic attacks and it lowered my generalized anxiety. It even helped me get rid of DPDR as far as it being 24/7 for a while. But in the long term, my symptoms came back and I tried to use my acceptance technique, but now there was so much buildup on my body and so many stressful situations in my life that the acceptance didn't work. And that was terrifying for me because it had brought so much results years prior. And so, just like distraction, acceptance is not dealing with the root. It may be good for reducing resistance, which is not a bad thing, but there's too much buildup in the body and there's too many other things that have to happen to really rewire your nervous system. So, what steps can you take to recover from DPDR? Believe it or not, the first step is getting accurate knowledge about why the symptoms are present. Right now, because of the DPDR, you're likely experiencing a whirlwind of overwhelming emotions and uncertainty because of just how debilitating that these symptoms are and the impact that it's had on your life. Maybe it's affected your job or school or your social life or your relationships, your sleep, and of course, just your mind and your ability to focus and concentrate and enjoy your life. So the symptoms are already debilitating enough, but then you add on confusion, misinformation about the symptoms, that just makes them even worse, especially whenever you believe that they're connected to something catastrophic, like you going crazy, or your brain is broken, or the symptoms are permanent. Understanding the neuroscience of why and how DPDR are there will help to alleviate those negative emotions and fears that come with DPDR, as well as dispel any misinformation that may have caused you to add even more stress and resistance unnecessarily onto the symptoms. But here's the good news. Even the short explanation that I gave earlier about why depersonalization realization happens has already begun the process of rewiring your brain to perceive safety related to the symptoms. It is very important to pursue a deeper understanding of not only DPDR, but how your nervous system works. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But you're already beginning the process of renewing your mind to the fact that you're not actually going crazy. These symptoms are safe and you can heal. With that being said, the second key to recovery, as I've mentioned, is a body based strategy. You might be extremely mentally strong and you're used to using your mind to overcome anything, but I will tell you, this is the one challenge that you're not going to be able to beat with your mind. And sometimes you trying to beat this in your mind is actually a way to separate, to dissociate from your body. It is paramount that we get you back into your body. This is called interoception, the experience of the embodied self. I spend a lot of time with my clients simply just helping them get back into their body because they've lost touch with their body. And then the second thing is we need to start to release that tension, adrenaline, and emotion from the body, as well as, again, we need you to take a look at your life and make whatever lifestyle adjustments that you need to make to reduce stress and fatigue in your life. And you can't do that if you're spending all day in your head trying to mentally wrestle with the symptoms. And sometimes there's a cost to it. Sometimes you have to walk away from very toxic or abusive people. Sometimes you have to make adjustments at work. You're going to have to prioritize sleep and nutrition. You're going to make sure that you have boundaries. I work with people all the time and they're like, I'm a people pleaser. Well, that's probably one reason that you're stressed out all the time is you're not considering yourself. It's actually paramount to have self-care. It's not selfish. And this is one thing that I work with my clients on quite a bit. You've got to take care of yourself or you can't take care of anybody else, but you're going to have to do an audit of your life and stop pushing your body beyond its limit. And I'll tell you, if you're willing to pay that cost, the reward is absolutely incredible and it's well worth it. Most people think methodology is the most important part of recovery. They think, okay, well, Jordan's the body based guy, so he's going to give me all these body based strategies. And that's true. Whenever I work with somebody, we do a lot of stuff in the body. But believe it or not, studies have shown that methodology in general is only about 15% of healing, up to 45% of recovery is not method, it's actually something called co-regulation. So co-regulation is essentially the understanding that humans heal humans. When you are around somebody who understands your pain, that makes you feel safe, that can build hope and really support you through the healing process, it just simply makes it easier to heal. We are actually wired to seek out people to co-regulate us whenever we are confronted with stress or painful experiences. That's the first thing that we look for to help calm us down. If we can't find regulation through co regulation, then we look to fight or flight response. And if we can't fight or flee, we become trapped or overwhelmed, or even feel trapped or overwhelmed. That's whenever we enter a trauma response, the freeze response, and then that's what kicks DPDR in. But we are wired for each other, we're wired to heal each other. And that's why it's been so distressing for you whenever you've sought out people to understand you, to validate your experience, and to give you hope. And you may have been met with a deer in the headlights. Like maybe sometimes great people, whether it be your therapist or a doctor, or friends and family, people who care about you, but they've just never heard of your symptoms. And you're just so desperate to find somebody that gets you. Well, that is because you have a built in desire for co regulation, and it's very, very important. So, to answer your question, yes, you can recover. And it would be one thing if I've said that, but go check out the testimonials on my YouTube channel. Listen to these stories of people who thought that they were the exception, who thought that there was no way that they could recover. But once they got away from trying to mentally wrestle the symptoms or distract away or accept them or just 10,000 other things that really don't get to the root, and they started to deal with these roots that we talked about, their symptoms went away and they were able to live their life. And that is why I keep doing this, is because people keep getting their life back. People that have been suffering for 5 years, 10 years, we even get 20 and 30 plus years sometimes that people have been experiencing this. And you would be shocked at how fast sometimes that people can start to reprogram their nervous system, even after years or decades of suffering, once we deal with the roots. So, if you're ready to go even deeper into what we covered today and learn the 5 shifts to become permanently symptom free, I've actually created a free 45-minute masterclass for you called the 5 shifts to eliminate depersonalization, derealization, and anxiety. There's a link below in the description and the first pinned comment. Also, after watching the training, there is a link to apply to work with me and my team if you want us to take a look at your situation and see if we could help you. We do have a very extensive vetting process just to make sure that we're able to help you. But if we do extend an offer, we do work with people until they're fully symptom free, as long as it takes, and that may be something that interests you.